Hey guys, welcome back to the Tough Love Podcast with Dr. John O'Connor. Today's guest, Tony Rodriguez, host of Advice Unfiltered with Chris David and himself. Tony, brother, welcome to the show.
Oh, thanks for having me. I'm excited.
It's actually a great compliment to have you on here, bro. Watching your show, watch you guys build it up, and you guys actually just won a podcast award for number one in your space, right? So
yeah, it's crazy.
Awesome on that. Real quick to get started, tell me a little bit about yourself, Tony Rodriguez, and how we got here to this point.
It's been a grind. Looking all the way back, it's an interesting journey for me because when I started my career coming up through, I went to school on a full college scholarship. I was an engineer. Everything was going great and just had a lot of really life stuff happen between family falling apart. I had to drop out of school and give up a scholarship and just started living on my own at my car and just started trying to grind. And I think that's really been helpful for me because I think in the middle of it you don't realize how much it's going to be helpful, but
those are definitely key experiences and shape you, right?
Yeah, it's like you wind up starting to learn, like I'm going on job interviews, but I don't have the experience and I don't have a scholarship and I got to find a way to get the knowledge and learn. And I just started small. I started going all the way back, learning how to do sales and marketing, just going door to door. Then moving on and realizing that my skill set was in managing people. When I was in my 20s, I became the youngest marketing award winner at TGI Fridays. I worked there and I started doing some small odd end jobs on the side. And I went from one store to multiple stores. And then I wound up being the youngest award winner in history. And I think it dawned on me that, you know what, it's not so much about where you come from or your background. It's just about the work you put in. And that's really propelled me from there, getting into being now to where I'm a marketing vice president, working with companies like the Yankees and the Sixers and Home Depot and Sears and managing business partnerships. And now the podcast, which has, been unbelievable. But I think a lot of it just comes down to the fact that I'm not afraid to fail. I have a good sense of faith in myself. And I think everything's a learning lesson. So I'm not afraid to take on the challenges. I'm not afraid of where I'm at. And I'm always focused on where I want to go. I think that's kind of how I got to here.
Always fall forward, right?
Always fall forward. That's it.
That huge transition that happened when you had to drop out of the scholarship, that was really the beginning of the amazing person you've become today. That was kind of the first big adversity you hit, right?
Yeah, what happened? My brother ran away from home. He was a year younger than me. My family fell apart. Technically, I stole my scholarship money. I gave it to him. I went in a hole and I gave him my car and I figured how to make it. I figured if anything else, I felt good I was smart enough to figure out how to make it. But I think at that young age with a drive and an excitement, I was like, I don't know how it'll work out, but I just had belief it would.
Well, let's just take a moment to say, that's pretty amazing. Like you helped out your brother.
Yeah.
By turning over something you'd worked so hard to give him that or the money from that and putting him in a situation, so that says a lot about the person you are.
I probably would say it to somebody if they said it to me. I have an outlook on life that my life is more about the people I help. It's just kind of always how I've been. I don't ever really think about myself in situations. I try to think about how I can advance other people. And really what that's been is the catalyst for me in my management career because I run seminars now and mentor people and teach groups. And I used to be a motivational speaker for managers, and a lot of it always came down to putting people first. And it's a lot of what people lack when they manage in leadership roles is they're always worried about what the outcome is for their own career and their own career path. And I realized a long time ago that by putting other people first, that's essentially how you really get ahead in life. So I learned it early, luckily, and I think it's just propelled me to how we got to here.
I love that. Keeping it on that line, what would you say that with regards to marketing and vice president of everything you're doing right now, what's your mission statement that you think you would open up in speaking to your team, something that kind of resonates who Tony is? Obviously selfless, I would say one word, I love that. I love that in a leadership perspective, saying, hey, what makes you guys happy? Because if I get you guys happy, I think you're going to be more productive for what I need. I
finally became a vice president. It's funny because I tell people this story all the time. I was an outside hire by the company. Internally, everyone who applied for the job didn't get it. And when I started the job, they pulled me into my first meeting and they said, hey, by the way, everybody here hates you because you're the outside hire. So just know that.
So that's starting day one.
Day one.
Welcome to the company.
30 minutes in, I meet the managing crew and I sit down with them and I literally, instead of giving a speech or selling them on a plan or a vision, I talked about their vision. I talked about their plan. I actually said to them, and I still believe this to this day, I said, I know all of you wanted my job and you're probably feeling some sort of way that I'm here today. But the reality of it is I hope all of you take my job. In 2 years from now, if I'm in this position and none of you have grown, then I've failed. It's not about the company. It's not about how much money we make. It's about me advancing your career. So if you guys always remember that I want you to have my job and that's where I'm at, then we're going to be really successful. We had 12 people. I think the division I was in did $200,000 in sales the year prior to me being there. And in the first year, I did $30 million. And in the second year, I did $330 million. And I never forget, people are like, how did you grow from 12 people to 600? And I said, I teach people to care about other people. And I think when you really look at life that way, whether it's your personal life, your relationships, being married, you really do learn in life that it's really about it being in service of others. Then the rest of it kind of just takes care of itself.
I love that. We're back to back with some amazing bangers today as lines and statements. So that right there makes me happy. It makes me, when I'm hosting a podcast, and I don't normally do this interview format, but when I'm learning about people, I love to hear what just comes off their tongue. And I'm like, to me, as a business coach, when I go into practices, and a little bit different in healthcare settings, right? I got to hear the pains of the doctors and then how to reroute to make them better healthcare providers. But at the same time, most times I have to look at how bad they are to their team.
Yeah.
And I'm like, hey guys, note to self, in this day and age, post-COVID, most people aren't the workers they were 10 years ago. You're not hiring that person anymore.
No.
They have to be appreciated. They have to be communicated. They have to feel involved and important, and that takes effort.
I just had a meeting with a C-suite person, and we were going through and they're trying to tell me on how they have all these great bonus programs and incentives for their people, but their turnover rate's high. And I said to the guy, I said, let me ask you a question. I said, how many times have you just gone down on the floor and shook someone's head and tell me you appreciate them? And he goes, I don't ever leave the office. And everyone always gives you the same thing. Oh, I don't have time. I said, you run a business, you have time, you make it, because you learn over time, it's that all someone really wants outside of opportunity, a real chance at opportunity, a fair shake at it. They really want to not know that it's not where they come from, it's not their background, it's just that everybody starts on an even playing field. But even more than that is just going down, looking someone right in the eyes and shaking their head and just saying, thank you. That little bit from someone at his level to someone who's just starting in the company, it would carry productivity forever.
I love that. One of the big things, obviously we were side by side yesterday and you wear a lot of hats, and it was pretty amazing to see you step up for Chris. When you grab the camera, you start jumping in. We're going into, like I was joking around saying, Spielberg and ESPN here filming videos. Obviously you keep yourself in great shape. As you know, I'm going for my Fitness Pro thing this year, and so it's a lot. How has health shaped your mindset and keep yourself in great shape?
You can't be in service of others if you're not in service of yourself in some form or fashion. So I think that being physically fit, first of all, I think it helps you tremendously mentally. I think what a lot of people don't realize about the physical nature of going to the gym, they look at the outcome of what it looks like when you're working that hard, right? Oh, you got a great body, looks awesome. I don't think people realize, and obviously you do, because you know how hard you work at these things. Changes the way you carry yourself. It changes your confidence. It changes how you talk to people. It's so much more about how it grounds you, how you realize that, this is what I love about the gym. You're never going to be the strongest. You're never going to be the fittest. You're never going to be the fastest, but it doesn't matter. You're always could be the best version of yourself. And my wife knows this. Like, I cannot start any day, almost ever, if I don't have a little me time, and that's the gym time. It's where you learn discipline. It's where you realize that there's real struggle. And what I tell everyone is, no matter how many hard things I've been in my life, nothing is harder than starting your day early in the morning at the gym. But once you get through that, you really do look at the rest of your day, and you're like,
you working out multiple times a day, or you're a 5-ammer?
Here's the thing, like, I definitely love coming in the morning. I struggle at night because there's so much to do. If I'm competing for a race or something, I don't mind splitting into 2 days or 2 times a day. But I just think it's more about at least the one time a day, getting in here, centering myself. And I say it all the time, that's the hardest part of my day. Anything else that comes my way is not even remotely close to the challenge of getting up, being disciplined, eating right, making good decisions for yourself, and hitting the gym.
I love that. What is discipline? We've been firing on that word, but what does that look like for you across the board?
Discipline is self-love. Discipline in your relationships and the way you eat and the way you treat yourself and the words you speak, to me, is self-love. And what people don't realize is those words are so powerful, especially to yourself. And I know that's an odd way to look at discipline. You know, people look at discipline and say it's this idea of being true to a time or being able to accomplish a goal and the repetitiveness of it. I think discipline is loving yourself enough to make better decisions for yourself.
I like that. I know when I started competing for the men's physique competitions, at first I thought just throwing clean food in the dishes was like, check the box. And they looked great. I will tell you, I've become quite the chef. But then when I realized discipline became, you got to measure it.
Yeah.
You got to weigh it. You got to eat at a certain time.
Yeah.
You're
at a whole nother level of discipline.
And I go, the workout's the easy part. I
Yeah.
go, this food thing, this takes work.
Yeah, but you know what, though? You know what it takes to hit that goal. And it's not that you looked at it and said, oh, I have to do it. You looked at it, you said, I love myself enough that if I'm going to try to accomplish this goal, if I'm going to try to become the best version at the highest level, I love myself to know, hey, I got to weigh my food. And I know just the way I look at it.
I agree with that 1,000%. The one thing with me taking off on my national coaching platform and getting in and dealing with advanced modalities, a lot of the clients will say, wow, you keep yourself in great shape. And I go, I've been through so much. Fractured skull, I was paralyzed, I had my knee rebuilt, broke my back. I mean, I've just had so many injuries, ACL. And they're like, you still train? I go, I train to demonstrate what's possible through discipline. Every day I start at 4:30 in the morning. I'm on PMF and the modalities that I sell because I have to literally like put my body back together like the Tin Man. People are like, but you look amazing. I go, byproduct. But what's amazing is that I don't quit.
Yeah.
When I sit myself up in the bed and say, can you get up? And some days I have to say that. People are like, really? I'm like, really?
Yeah. There's a meme I always like, and it shows two silhouettes of a guy walking with a briefcase, and it shows the guy on the journey, and nobody sees him on the journey. And then it shows him when he's successful, and everybody's there to cheer him on. And that's how I kind of look at these things. A lot of people are like, oh my God, you look great. It must be so dedicated. And yeah, it is true, but they don't see the struggle of how it took to get there. You know, people like yourself, my co-host Chris, me, it's like I've fallen in love with the journey, and the rest of the outcome is a byproduct of it, but you got to love the journey.
1,000%. Let's talk a little bit to our audience as far as how the Advice Unfiltered podcast started, with the idea, the concept, and like podcast number one.
It was interesting because it's truly the universe. Like, I was going to start a podcast with my wife. We bought all the equipment, logos, designs, everything was done. And unfortunately, well, the goal was really, and a lot of people don't know this who watch the show, but we were struggling a little bit to learn to communicate. Not a huge struggle like from a relationship standpoint, but a lot of relationships, you struggle to communicate with your partner. We thought would be a really clever idea was to start a podcast. And the goal was to never release the episodes. So we would do an episode a week. We would do it on date night. And the idea was that we would learn to talk about subjects that we maybe found it hard to talk about as a couple. And maybe in this format, it'd be a little bit more fun. And we were going to have a drink and we'd have some fun and what our whole goal was to do it for a year or until she retired, because in her job, she couldn't do a podcast. So they wouldn't allow her. But then we'd have all these episodes one day and release them to the public and say, hey, this is what our struggle was and this is how we became a better couple. We really couldn't figure out how to do it with her job. And then it just was a blessing. We're at the gym one day working out, and my co-host now, Chris, came up to me, and it was so funny. He just comes up and goes, you ever thought about starting a podcast? And I was like, funny you say that. I was like, I have all this stuff. And so we start talking. We really were going back and forth, trying to figure out what would be interesting. What are we going to talk about? Is it fitness? How can we be different? And my co-host said the best thing, which I think really set the tone for everything. He said, you know what? Why don't we just make it about people? And you know what? Why don't we just talk to people, give our insight? Our lives are very similar in the fact that we've both struggled a lot. Why don't we just see if we can help people get through the struggle and let them ask us as an open book whatever they want, which is kind of interesting because he's a best-selling author. We just did what I think is a huge lesson for people. We've got a camera and we just went live with no thought we were ever going to be successful. And the first show was 4,000 people watched live. I think we cried that day because it was so amazing. The only two...
And now you got like 40, 50,000?
Yeah, it's like almost 300,000 live listeners and downloads a month. And then
awesome.
Celebrities reach out and they watch the show and they love it. Only rules that we made were, the first one was the most important, consistency. We said that if we were going to do it, we had to show up every Tuesday, no matter what, for an entire year and never miss a Tuesday. Because if we were going to commit ourselves to people, we had to show them that we are committed to them. So that was rule number one.
What week are we in?
We'll be in 42.
We're getting close.
Getting there. The second one was we just need to be authentic. So there was nothing that we wouldn't talk about that was off the table. We had to talk about it honestly. And I think that's ultimately part of what resonated.
In the space podcast you're in, because obviously mine was about tough love and adversity, right? Like getting over being paralyzed, a lot of stuff that I had. And I think that you guys had external stuff where I had internal stuff. What separates your podcast from everybody else in your space, if you will?
Well, the first thing is it's truly about them. It's very little to do with me and him. Obviously maybe our personalities and the way that we connect in our relationship. I mean, we're like best friends now, which is great. So I think people really appreciate that. But I think what separates us is, and I know this sounds kind of like hokey, I guess, to some people. I mean this. We care about those people. We read every single email. We're the only two people that work on the podcast. We don't have a team of anybody. We do everything ourselves. What the ultimate goal was just to help people. We stick to that. Even now, we won a Signal Award as a top podcast in the world, and we beat all these big names and stuff. And people are like, oh, it's great. Like, it's exciting. All we're like, okay. It's a little bit of validation, which is nice. We both looked at each other and we're like, now we just get to help more people. And I think this is the key. And actually, the other thing I would tell you is this, and you know this because you've seen the podcast, there's humor built into it.
Without doubt.
And I think what people miss in this space is...
also, too, I think we should share for people that I definitely will make sure we have the link on there.
Yeah.
Your podcast is like a radio show.
Oh, it's a show.
It's a show. I mean, like, legitimately, you guys are not like a guest. It's two you going back and
Oh,
forth.
yeah.
It's raw and unfiltered, and like the topics that come up from.
It's crazy.
I mean, the cheating one where the person showed up and this and that.
Oh.
It was epic.
Here's what I think we realize. You're in this world now where a third of everybody are lonely. You look at the statistics and they tell you that most people for the first time in history, especially for Gen Z, will be single and childless as they get into their 60s. And you would think, here's the challenge, you would think there's so many more options, there's more dating tools, there's a way to connect with more people. But the reality is that even though there's more tools to connect, people have never felt more lonely than they do now. So what happens is you get these people who have these really funny stories and people ask us all the time about it. And I say, here's the reality of it. Something happened to someone and they don't have a friend to turn to talk to about it. They don't want to feel judged, and we've created this safe space. And I think in it, if we were a show that just talked about everything serious, I don't think people would watch. I think if we were a show that we just crack jokes all the time, I think nobody would watch. But I think what we've become is a balance of, hey, life is hard. We agree. Life is going to suck sometimes. It absolutely is. But if you have good people around you and a good community, you can sit back and laugh at some of those things in life. And I think every single person that's reached out to us, celebrities included, will be like, hey, I started watching your show. We just filmed an episode and we had a couple of celebrities actually reach out. It was unbelievable. And every one of them said, I laughed, I cried, I got mad, I agreed. And they were like, I have every emotion in one of your radio show episodes. When we looked at each other, we're like, we're doing it right now.
No doubt. So I think this next question is perfect for what you're talking about right now. What does honesty mean to you in a world full of noise?
You can't be afraid to be honest. It's so funny to me, even that it's a hard lesson for all of us to learn. There's something beautiful in being authentic. There's something beautiful in being flawed. And there's something beautiful in sharing that and being okay with it. And I think what happens to us is, in this world we feel judged and there's so many eyes on us and we want followers and we want people to like us so much. When the reality is we just want a few people to care about us a lot. What you realize is when you're really, any talk show, any people I follow, people that are really big in this space, they talk about all the time. Just be honest with your partner. Be honest with your friends. I'll give you the best one that changed my whole life. I tell my friends I love them. I'm a guy. I talk to my guy friends. We'll hug them and tell them I love them when I see them. If you said that 10 years ago, somebody would make fun of you. Somebody would call you a name. But no, I love those people. And I think this is where we want to see the world change, where that's honesty, that's authenticity to me. And now that people see you can do it and don't be afraid to do it, I think it's refreshing for people.
I love that. What does the next year look like for Advice Unfiltered?
We invested in ourselves. We converted a whole third of my whole house to a podcast studio. So we own our own studio now. We actually go live in our brand new studio tomorrow, actually, which is kind of fun. We're trying to figure out now, and this is where it gets a little challenging. Things just get thrown at you now that you're like, oh, you here and to sponsor this and be part of this. And our big thing is we're just taking a breath and we're just trying to say, we just want to do it right. Like, we don't want to get in over our heads. We never want our audience to lose faith in us. We never want to lose that trust that we've built with them. So for the rest of the year, we're working with some people, and this is a big one for us. I think, helping them through the holidays, not feeling connected. So we're working with people in that space, which is great right now. And then going into next year, our hope is that a lot of the people and guests that have reached out to us to be on the show, it's actually really interesting. It has nothing to do with their fame. It has nothing to do with their celebrity. I think what they want to do and what they've told us, which I think is beautiful, is they want to share their struggle. They want to show people that their life wasn't great all the time. And talking to those people, they're just people too. And it's going to give us a bigger opportunity to help more people, get in front of more people,
I love that.
It's going to be a great year next year.
Absolutely love everything about today. I have to tell you, obviously, being in sales and marketing and coaching your entire career has kind of set you up for it. And I got both you guys by a couple years, and having coached at a very high level in sports and then coaching practices now, I take a lot of responsibility. And more importantly, I had a great line from coaches that I've been around, like, where game recognizes game. But I have to salute you both for doing an excellent job for being authentic.
Oh, you know how much we love you. I mean, look, I think the universe connects you to people that share those same space. And I think, and especially for men, even guys who like us, who are in fitness, and people look at us and you're tough and you're strong and you're like, no, I'm just a person. Yeah. Inside, the other day, like, Chris cried on episode 40. I cried on episode 41. It's beautiful to feel those emotions and be honest and real. And my only hope is that we can touch more people in a way where they feel safe and they realize that this is really important for people. Life is beautiful. Life is always going to be hard. Life is going to be a struggle, but there's a lot of beauty in that. And I promise you, if you're a person out there and you're just trying to figure it out, we all are. Everyone's trying to figure it out. And I think when you change your perspective on how amazing that is, that we're here and you can love and you can feel, I think that's the vein of the podcast and the vein of our friendships that we keep.
I appreciate that, brother. And I feel the same way. If you were going to give one piece of raw, tough love advice, unfiltered, to close out today's episode, what would that be?
I'll put it in this vein, and I think it's because of the way our audience works. You know, it's really heartbreaking because there are so many people going through stuff right now. Aging parents, Alzheimer's, dementia, tough decisions on continuing on in your own struggle in your life, being in a dark place. Those struggles are real. I don't discount those things. And when you try to really tell somebody, the tough love I tell them outside of, look, there's help, and we all say that, right? There's help, there's community, there's people out there for you, there's outreach, 100%. You have to find a way to love yourself. You have to find a way to get up off the floor. And I promise you, you choose your heart in life. You can make these decisions, but if you know in your heart that the decision's going to suck, but it's the right one, just take the first step. And I promise you it'll get better. The tough love reality advice unfiltered of it is you have to be a willing participant. You can't sit on the sidelines in your own life. Gotta take the reins. Don't make excuses. If I made excuses, I don't know where I would be when I gave all that stuff up. I would be like, oh, the world's horrible and it sucks. I said, no. I said, you know what? I said, I believe in myself. I have opportunity. I have an ability to make change, and I'm going to do it.
Love that. Tony, thank you so much.
Thank you.
I can't tell you how much I enjoyed this conversation. Guys, I have to tell you, when they're your friends, sometimes you take for granted how powerful the message is. You know, I have Tony Rodriguez with me today, but Tony and Chris's message on Advice Unfiltered is absolutely amazing. They care, they're compassionate, they're hysterical. Sometimes they're crying, sometimes they're laughing, but they're always genuinely real. So Tony, my friend, thank you so much for joining me today. Yeah. Guys, there's going to be a link on our podcast if you need to join them. Again, their podcast is a weekly podcast. It goes off every night, Tuesday at 9 p.m.
Tuesday at 8:30. We always try to make sure to tell people the right time because we screw it up all the time still. That's how we know we're rookies. But 8:30, we're live every Tuesday, YouTube, Facebook, Instagram. You can find us everywhere.
Guys, by the way, they're kind of a big thing. So trust me, you'll find them pretty quickly because I don't know. I walk around with these guys and I get popped up to all the time like they see us somewhere. So thank you so much for joining us. God bless you all. And we'll see you guys again soon. Thank you.
Thanks, bro.